Good morning. Welcome to the social media stage of the Festival of Marketing. My name is David Riley. I'm eConsultancy have very kindly asked me to chair this stage today and tomorrow. I'm a trainer for them and write some of their content. I just wrote the LinkedIn social media user guide, which I hope some of you will be reading. So we've got some fantastic speakers today, and I wanted to firstly explain the kind of format of how this will work. So each of the speakers will be speaking for 30 minutes, and then for the last 5 minutes, you can submit questions through the Festival of Marketing app, through Slido. These questions will appear up here, and then I'm going to fire some of the questions at the speakers. So I'm going to introduce you to our illustrious speakers. We have Luca Bellini from the agency Olapic, and they are a social media agency who specialize in visual content and using visual content for engaging with clients. So Luca's going to be joined by the global social media manager, Cass Gowing of AllSaints. So Cass comes from a fashion blogging background, very appropriate for this market. So I'm going to introduce you to Cass and Luca.
Thank you. There we go. Thank you very much, and thank you everybody for being here with us today. As we said, my name is Luca Benini, and I'm here with Cass. We're going to take you through some interesting findings regarding the use of authentic, earned content coming from the community to be used by brands. Let's get this started. Next. Yes, it works. Well, you know this. You are seeing our faces. I run the Olapic team in Europe. We are a technology company. We help brands such as AllSaints to deliver great results through earned content. Before we start, I want to kind of give you a sense and some stats actually from a global consumer report that we ran over the past months, and we're going to release it actually this week, so you're all going to receive it in your mailboxes. We wanted to understand how and why people like you and I interact with social media and share on social media experiences that we tag to brands or experiences that we relate to brands. We wanted to understand the motives, we wanted to understand why people do it, and we wanted to understand how to obviously make the most of it for our brands. So we ran a consumer report. We asked 4,500 people across the globe in 6 countries about how they interact with social media and how products and brands play a role in those interactions. I have a few stats here. Why is it relevant to talk about this? Well, because you have all in your pocket a tweeting machine, an Instagram machine that can take fabulous pictures, can take fabulous videos, and enables you to, on the instant, share whatever is in front of you, whatever you're experiencing with the world. Those interactions are happening, they're all around us, and they actually represent an opportunity for brands to interact and monetize their community. We went to the people, as I said, and we asked them why and how do consumers interact with products on social media. We found out that half of them, 49%, share an image to show an appreciation for a product. So there is that direct relation of I like something, I share something, and I tell the world about it. Is sharing is caring in this case. 74% have responded that they've uploaded a picture tagging a brand in social media. So that is actually a widespread activity that we see from consumers doing more and more and more often. And then a fourth of them actually bought a product. They declared that they bought a product as a result of seeing something shared by others on social media. We then kind of flipped it and we asked, what are the motives? What are the reasons why people turn to UGC, user-generated content, earned content, in their daily life? What do they look for, and what are they expecting from user-generated content. And we found out that actually the main motive, 45% of the respondents declared, is inspiration. So UGC is inspiring. UGC is appealing. And actually within UGC that is appealing, pictures represent the majority and the best case for that inspiration to actually come through to people. And then 76% declared that there's a trust element that comes with UGC that is not necessarily there with branded content or corporation content. To summarize, the motives that drive this interaction with social media content, on user-generated content on social media, are honesty, authenticity, trust, and inspiration. We will actually find all these elements as drivers or co-drivers of the great results that we're going to see with the All Saints campaign. What is the solution, therefore, a technology solution that Olapic proposes to brand and brings to the market so that this wealth of value that is out there coming from consumers can be harvested and put to use for brands? We activate that opportunity by helping brands increase their assets. They multiply to infinity as a vision the availability of branded assets that they can use in their marketing channels. By doing so, they can engage, and we enable them to engage with their consumers at a different level. And we'll see how AllSaints is doing that fantastically well. We help through those assets and through the activation that comes with all the marketing and media channels, the conversion. So that conversion element that leads to a transaction is very much present and is very much measured, and it's activated through the Olapic technology. And ultimately, as a result, we help brands drive loyalty. We help brands deliver and establish long-term relationship through a mutual exchange of value that happens in this sharing activity and the activation that comes when brands embrace the content that has been shared by their users and they bring it into their marketing and social media channels. So what's our approach? And this is my last slide. So I think it's important to understand the various passages because there are a couple of things that are not obvious that we do. Maybe what's obvious is that through our technology, brands can harvest social media content from all places around the web. We have partnership with Facebook, with Instagram, with Twitter, with other places where people are sharing experiences and tagging them with brands. We then, through our technology, enable brands to collect and intercept and curate those assets, those images that come from their consumers. There's an important passage there that is the unlocking of rights. We help brands understand and act on licensing the pictures so that they can be used in their marketing channels. And that actually leads to the activation element of what our technology enables, which is bringing those assets free of rights or with a license to be used, beautiful, created by consumers, bringing a wealth of trust and inspiration, distributed through the marketing channels, on websites, on social media channels. And then ultimately, obviously, the analytics that comes with it. The ability for our brands to keep a constant eye on what's working, what's not working, what can be done better, so that they constantly iterate and deliver better results in the end. We're fortunate enough to be working with some of the best brands across the globe. They have huge communities. They're very engaged with their communities. And through Olapic, they have an opportunity to, I think, take that engagement to a new level, monetize and share back with their community some of the value that they're producing with their products, with their services. In this context, we sat down with Cass and the team, and we had a challenge from them. We had a challenge that then turned into a fantastic campaign, the It's Up to You campaign, that they brought to us. Actually, before I get to the challenge, let me tell you a bit more about AllSaints. If you don't know who All Saints is, you are probably, I don't know, you've lived on the moon for the past few years, but here it goes. They have a ton of stores across the globe, operating in 20 countries with 26 million visits just over the course of 2015 on all their web media properties. They're obviously a fashion brand, very British, iconic fashion brand, founded in 1994. They're headquartered right here in London. So as I said, they came to us with a challenge. They wanted to reach new customers. How many times have we heard that, right? So that is an obvious challenge, an obvious objective for all campaigns. But that actually came with, I think, a different open-mindedness, in this case, from All Saints. They were very forthcoming and putting that engagement level, that community engagement at the core of this challenge. They wanted to get closer to their communities. They wanted to activate more and more quality and quantity engagement from their community. They also wanted to understand a bit more and discover how consumers are styling their most iconic products. And ultimately, but not least, they wanted to understand how new collections are incorporated into consumers and their customers' fashion. So with this quite varied challenge, but really focused on their community and the activation of their community, we sat down with the team. We did our magic with our technology, I believe, and we delivered what we believe is a great solution, what All Saints is saying is a great solution, and I'm actually going to pass on to Cass so that she can take us through what actually happened after we turned the switch on.
Yeah, of course. So we started working with Olapic actually on a campaign basis. So accompanying our spring 2016 collection, which was showcased at New York Fashion Week, we entitled it "It's Up to You." So it boils down to how we see All Saints clothes, not necessarily trend-driven, more as just ingredients for our customers to be able to create their own personal style. So when we were kind of given this concept as a marketing campaign, it naturally went hand in hand with user-generated content. So I'm going to show you the short video which we used to push out the campaign. So this was the first time that we'd ever utilised user-generated content. I'm not going to lie, it's actually something that was really scary for us as a business. We have really kind of strict creative control. Our creative team are in-house. They produce beautiful assets, and they're our assets, and that's what we push out. So to kind of hand over the baton to our customers, I'm not going to lie, it was a really scary thing. So we launched globally with Olapic in 2016, so just earlier this year. And our key objective with this campaign was we wanted to invite customers to share their style using the "It's Up to You" hashtag. So in terms of our launch strategy, we actually had a 3-tiered approach. One of the things we wanted to do was really empower our retail and HQ staff. I don't know if you've been to an All Saints store, but you'll know that they're complete brand ambassadors, so we really wanted to start at the core of the business. So we actually launched internally with the UGC gallery 5 days ahead of the campaign launch. We got our creative director to share a video inviting our store staff to take part, which we shared internally on G+. We encouraged our employees to share their own images. They have their uniform, they have their own items. We really wanted to empower them to kickstart the campaign, to say a little thank you to them, but also we knew that if they were deep-rooted with the campaign, it'd make it so much easier for them to explain it to our customers as well. The second part of the launch is we obviously wanted to spread the word of the campaign to our customers, both new and existing. So we worked with a different range of mid-tier influencers to really get the social buzz. We worked with a specific influencer agency. We're very kind of selective over who we worked with, but it meant that we were spreading the word, but also getting great content from the onset. So when we actually started with the gallery, we had the advantage of having all of the retail staff UGC, but also all of the amazing influencers influencer content as well. And then the campaign-specific video, which you saw there, we used a reach and frequency buy across Facebook and Instagram to really kind of spread the word to fashion interest audiences. We utilized social advertising in various different ways across the two platforms as well. We had It's Up to You on the homepage. We had a specific landing page that featured the video content, all of the beautiful images that we created. And we also had the UGC gallery that's separate to that. We pushed it out with email assets as well to really spread the word to our existing audiences. So as I mentioned, there's the landing page, which is on the right-hand side, and also the UGC gallery page there. This is some of the activation that we utilised. So, as I mentioned, we pushed out our own content to really spread the All Saints word. We utilised sequential retargeting ads, and we actually used UGC and the influencer content to do that, and we saw a lot higher engagement when we pushed out those assets. So we did a 5-day really targeted brand burst and then started serving customers with actual content that they could really relate to. Exactly the same with email. So we had an activation email which utilised our assets. We then added a specific UGC banner to the bottom of our commercial emails as well. So that featured genuine UGC that was being created by our customers. And this then directed them straight to the UGC gallery page as opposed to the landing page. So this campaign was actually relatively short, so it was just 6 weeks that we run it. But we got 11 million views to the promotional video across Instagram and Facebook, and that's in UK and New York. 323,000 engagements from the influencer network, as well as press coverage featuring the campaign. But for us, this is where the key metrics really come into play. So we had 66,000 visitors to the gallery. But for us, it's the 48,000, which were new followers. They were the new customers. That was why we started the campaign. We got new people to our site. And the testimony for that is 82% of the gallery visitors then returned to the site. So really kind of proved that we met our objectives with this campaign. On average, 5.74 average photos were interacted per user. And when we pitched this to our creative team, they kind of saw the gallery as, oh, well, if they're not featured on it, they won't want to look at anyone else. But it really showed that the inspiration metric is really true. And there was actually 12K in revenue, which was generated directly from that gallery alone. So that's people viewing one of the images, clicking on it to the like box, and then clicking straight through to the product and purchasing. So there's real commerce capabilities there. We also attributed 82K in incremental brand PPC sales because we saw a spike in interest in the All Saints brand following the launch of this. But it wasn't just a spike, it's something that actually continued over time. So it proved to be a really, really valuable campaign in terms of spreading the word of All Saints. But for me, I've kind of touched upon it. The biggest change was the mindset change at All Saints. So they really saw the worth in utilising user-generated content and working with influencers as well. So that mindset shift has been huge for us. And I'm currently about to launch the second user-generated content campaign, which is going live in the next 2 weeks. We went live with Tap Shop, which is our shoppable Instagram through Olapic yesterday. So it's really kind of a testimony, which we've got all these stats, but actually it's the mindset and the fact that we really did empower both our staff, our customers, new and existing.
That's fantastic. So we fast forward to the takeaways. What you heard, so far is about a technology that enables a brand such All Saints to do a number of things and to deliver great results, to kind of pioneering this openness towards user-generated content. And that's why probably the best and the first takeaway from you today, for you today, is that today you can disrupt your content strategy with earned content. And that disruption, don't underestimate it. If you're working at a brand or if you're working with a brand, you know very much how a content strategy has been ingrained, and it's been ongoing, and it's very controlled because ultimately content defines the positioning, defines the image, and changing the mindset takes a little while. It takes a kind of a new maybe spark that actually brings a ton of energy. And as we saw from the first ever campaign, also very good and tangible results, both in terms of engagement and some good results. Start to measure something also on the revenue side when you go all the way to the transaction, because today and through technology, everything is measurable. The second takeaway for you is to use technology to structure and scale your content. What we've been talking about here is something that anyone can do. And you probably don't need technology if you're doing it at a relatively small scale. But as soon as you get into large communities, as soon as you start to get an understanding of how and how big the opportunity is today and how big it can be tomorrow, you'll soon realize that using technology actually helps speed that process, put everything in place and reassure, from a compliance perspective as well, all the stakeholders involved, and enable you to do the first takeaway, which is the disruption of the content strategy. The third and final takeaway is, and maybe hopefully you'll actually hear it at many other sessions today, is that putting your customers at the core of your marketing strategy is never a bad idea. And actually, it works. And if you start to do that, if you do it with the right mindset, with the right stakeholders involved, with the right community and the right brand, of course, and with the right technology to keep everything on track and under control and measurable, then you can sit back, relax, and enjoy your success. And that's it from us. We are now open to taking questions.
So thank you very much. Those
Thank
were
you.
brilliant results.
Yes. Thank you.
So we're going to switch to Slido if any of you have any questions, but I was going to ask a question myself. On the question of measurement, how do you measure the contribution of social media to your business?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. For us, we really look at engagement. That's a key factor for us. I think it's difficult in terms of being able to fully measure the impact offline. That's something that we're still struggling with as a business. I'm sure everyone here probably is as well. But engagement is a really high metric for us that we look to. But also, for me, it's the statistic like 82% of people return to our site. The fact that we proved something was worthwhile there. They saw something in AllSaints.com that made them want to come back. So utilising analytics is never underestimated, but in terms of like overall social worth, it's a little bit tricky.
Okay, brilliant. So I'll take a couple of questions up here. Yes. You alluded to the challenge of buy-in internally. And the first question is about that. So how did you get buy-in? And can you share any kind of your challenges and how you face them internally to any of the marketeers watching today?
Yeah, of course. So we're extremely protective of our brand, as most in-house creatives are. So it can be really, really tricky. And to be honest, when I was talking to Kaylee, my account manager, and she wanted us to create specific metrics in terms of uploads versus how many photos published, I kind of thought we wouldn't get any published in terms of actual sign-off. And I'll be the first to admit that. So the fact that we had over 600 images live on the gallery that received creative sign-off, I saw that as a massive congratulations. So for us, that wasn't the key metric because I knew that it would be really tricky. But to be honest, it was when the campaign was actually up and running, and because this was like a 6-week test, which I definitely recommend, and now we've obviously continued to work with Olapic, it meant that we were able to gradually change the mindset. So we got sign-off, so various different moderation processes. So the moderation team went through the content, I went through the content, and then we took it direct to our creative and artistic director, and actually visually showing them, look, this is what your customers are creating. They were really genuinely surprised. So I think it's literally just putting the content in front of them. Also pushing it out from your own social channels, I definitely recommend as well. So when we were pushing that out and actually seeing such high levels of engagement, because it's such relatable content, that was definitely another thing which helped us change the mindset.
Okay, brilliant. Luca, question for you.
Yes.
In your experience, what do the audience need to be thinking about in terms of choice of content types? What really works in your experience in terms of types of content? And what's the thinking behind how you make those choices?
So it's difficult to actually pinpoint a specific element of a picture or a video that kind of stands out and says, oh, if you have that, it's going to work. what we do is we work very closely with brands and we define guidelines so that they help our moderation team and our moderation technology to find those that actually reflect what the brand guidelines are. And I'll give you an example. Do we want the product in the foreground or the product in the background? Do we want people recognizable or not recognizable? Do we want filters or no filters? Some of those elements will then help, then you go deeper and, you sit down with the creative director and you understand, the type of message and positioning that they want to transmit through the images. So it's through that exercise and some iteration actually, because there's a bit of back and forth and there's, you reject some and you accept some more, and then there's, we have an algorithm and artificial intelligence that actually reworked on the mass of images that are out there. We're dealing typically with hundreds of thousands of pictures, and kind of cutting through those, following the guidelines to bring the best ones at the top, and the best ones are the ones that actually reflect the brand guideline. And then we apply, once those are accepted and they go live, then we measure the results and we learn and we through, again, technology and analytics, we inform the artificial intelligence, the algorithm, hey, adapt, use a touch more of yellow, and it delivers more engagement, or, use a touch more of, sunset. So there's, a blend of technology to help optimize, but it all starts with brand guidelines that are given through the creative direction within the brand.
Okay, great. Another question that's been submitted is, how do you identify, and really key thing with social media is, how do you actually identify the key influences within your campaigns? So question to
do you want to go
Cass.
first?
I'll tell you, how technology does it. Because through technology, you can tap in the very long tail, if you wanna talk about it. So the very passionate, girl, the AllSaints girl, that actually doesn't have a lot of followers, doesn't even do that much activity of sharing. But when she does, that is a very impactful message, inspirational image, and that works. So by measuring the impact of that single image on the marketing channels, then we can actually identify her as an influencer, although she wouldn't actually qualify in the broader sense of what an influencer is, which is like Cass was, a very famous blogger, with a lot of followers and kind of a brand, a personal brand. So I think that's the opportunity that comes with technology specific to the influencers world.
Okay, brilliant. Do you have anything?
In terms of working with bloggers or kind of Instagram famous influencers, we did a mixture. So we worked with people that we had existing organic relationships with, and then we did work with an agency in order to manage the process, mostly because it was kind of just me, and there's only one of me, so it's a lot of work to do. So in terms of working with an agency, it was great because they put forward certain influencers that they'd recommend. We'd then kind of go through and decide if they were right for us as a brand, because it's not necessarily about the follower outreach. For us, it's a lot more about the visual aesthetic, what other brands they work with, the level of engagement that they have on their own Instagrams, on their blog posts, anything like that. So I'd say kind of stalk the influencers that get recommended to you, and you can veto who's right for your brand.
Okay, fantastic. Another question is, what level of research was done by yourselves and the agency in advance of this campaign to determine the right strategy for this activity?
So it was a campaign that was created within the digital team at AllSaints. So myself and my colleague, the digital marketing manager, and then we worked with the director of digital, got it signed off by the creative director and the CEO, allocation of budget, and then we worked with Olapic in terms of best practices with execution. One of them was retail integration. So we have vinyls in our windows, in our mirrors. So it was kind of collaborative once it got signed off.
Okay, fantastic.
And just to add to that, the research really is relatively straightforward for a brand like AllSaints and many brands out there, because they have built throughout the years organic communities of fans, and fans love the brand and they love to share their experiences with the brand by sharing a picture that where they are wearing something proudly as part of their daily life or special night out. And so the research that you do is tap into that world and try, again, through technology, through a mix of understanding what you're looking for, try to harvest the best. And that will give you a very solid indication of what you have, what the value is that you have in hand, and then you test and learn, and that's when you deliver great results. So hopefully more to come.
Okay, brilliant. I was going to ask you to share with the audience, what would be your, both of you, what would be your top 3 if you had to do 3 things well, what would be the 3 aspects of, if you're running a social media for the first time, that you'd share with the audience about what they need to really think about to make a campaign successful? And I'm going to start with Cass.
For me, I think you have to think, what is the customer going to get out of it?
Yeah.
As much as they will share that content anyway, if you're actually running a specific campaign, how are you engaging the audience? And for us, it was an element of empowerment. So we really wanted to empower them, their style, and showcase how they were wearing the brand. And I think it worked especially well because it's something we'd never done before. And as a brand, we can be quite kind of aloof and cool. And if you're not a model just wearing only a bike on a beach, then you're kind of not on our Instagram. So the fact that we were then promoting to our hundreds of thousands of followers an image of just a customer in the changing room trying on a biker, that was a really they were getting something back from it. Another key metric would be pushing out the content from your own social channels, so you have that connection with them, and you touched upon getting the rights to the images, and that was a great way for us to be engaging with the customers. And they'd often reply to the rights messages so excited, being like, oh my God, yes, and they'd screenshot when they were featured on our gallery. So just making sure there is that level of excitement there.
Okay, brilliant. Do you have anything to add?
Well, I second definitely the value exchange that happens. That is the underlying motive, I think, for everybody to get involved. Finally, you have a community and people and members of the community that see that they can have an active role in shaping how the image of the brand is brought to the world, and they are actually part of it. They're at the forefront. They're on the shop windows. They're on the website homepage, and that is where the exchange of value actually makes sense. We often answer questions about incentives that come to us, right? So, but why do people share, or what do you give to a person that is sharing a great image? And that exchange of value is exactly in the engagement, because I think maybe the best advice is go and tap into existing enthusiastic communities. That's where you'll find gold. Because, and I think there's an interesting element, and I think it was also a conversation with AllSaints where we are redefining quality for a picture. Until yesterday, quality for a picture was pixel perfect, was the right contrast and the right shape and the right design of the picture. And today, quality of a picture is defined by how trustworthy it is and how inspirational and relatable it is for the people that are looking at it and for the brand that is actually promoting it. So I think those are the passages that are definitely to be taken into consideration by brands.
Okay, thank you. And last question: how much did you can you allude to what you spent on social advertising and how important the contribution to paid social advertising was to this campaign?
I don't know if I can say that. Am I allowed? Am I going to get
if
told
you
off
could
if
just-
someone sees this on Twitter?
If you could just recommend which of the social channels are worth
Yeah.
spending good money on to get the results.
I think it's not necessarily about how much you spend, but about being smart with it as well. So for us, it was about utilising a reach and frequency buy because we just wanted to hit as many people as possible. So that's where we allocated probably about half of the media spend, and that was across Facebook and Instagram. And then it was the sequential advertising. So we then targeted people that had viewed 95% of that video. It's a 30-second long video, which isn't normally that long, but in digital, if they watch most of that video, they are truly engaged in the concept. So, and that is about being smart with it. So I'd recommend just looking at what you're trying to achieve.
Okay, brilliant. And from your experience, paid social advertising, what's been your experience with that?
I think it's inevitable, but the good thing is that it works, right? So it has become inevitable, as in, brands like AllSaints have millions of followers across the globe, and they've created these communities. Now they want to engage with these communities, and they have to pay to tap into this community because that's the reality that they're facing. But by being smart with their media spend and how they're targeting it, but also by being smart in the type of content that they use, and I go back to the concept of asking community to share user-generated content, taking the best out of it, and then bringing it back into social channels with a bit of a paid push behind it goes a very long way, and the results, trump any brand-created image because in a social media environment, that's what Facebook calls the thumb-stopping moment, right? So you're scrolling through, and our brain is geared to identify something that is a sponsored, branded message. It's, again, we go back to the pixel perfect, right? The white background, maybe, the thing that it doesn't resonate, so it's definitely not my friend, so I'm definitely going through it. Whereas when I see something that has been shared on social media by a person like you and I, then I might actually stop and I say, hey, what's AllSaints doing here, right? They look familiar, right? And that is where it becomes more effective. So in order to be there, you probably have to pay. But by being smart in the way that you do it, you get better results.
With paid as well, I don't think it's necessary. It depends on what your aims are from the campaign. So we wanted to reach new people, so that was the main KPI. So that's where we had to allocate the spend. But if you want to engage your existing or lapsed customers, then that's something you can do through your own channels as well. We saw amazing results through our organic social, through our mailers. So I don't think it's necessary to have that paid if you wanted to engage your existing database. And I think you shouldn't underestimate the micro-influencers, your day-to-day customers, and how can you empower them further? It doesn't have to be a competition, or it could just be like a surprise and delight allocation. Just think about how you can empower them without getting caught up on how much will this cost.
I want to thank you on behalf of the audience for coming today to share this brilliant case study.